How does quality impact the project presented? Quality of a project and how it impacts a project. And it does impact a project significantly. It does, because the quality is what's going to drive a project. When I say drive a project, I mean that everything else in the project is going to be based on the quality. We need to start getting a good understanding of the quality early in the project, even at the project charter level, because it will drive, for example, the scope of the project, it will drive the resources, it will drive the communications, it's going to drive the processes, it's going to drive the cost. Everything is going to be driven by the quality of the project. How does quality impact the project? Hopefully we'll be able to answer that question for you today and give you some insight into the different processes and different aspects of quality that do impact the project. Let's start with the definition of quality. I know a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of industries have their own definition of quality. But when I'm looking at a project, the definition of quality is the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfill requirements. You know, it's sort of like scope. If you're doing a project for someone, you want to give them the scope that they ask for. No more or no less. Exactly what they ask for. Well, quality is the same way. As you know, there is a cost associated with quality. And if you give more quality than is required, then it will cost you more money. You cannot give less quality, because if you're in a contract situation in particular, you cannot do that. The degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfills the requirements. In project management, we have really three aspects that are key to quality. The first one is called control quality. And we'll look at that process in a minute. But what we're looking for is, does the quality meet the requirements in grade and quality? You see, we can have a high grade with a low quality or a low grade with a high quality. We need to understand the grade and quality requirements for the deliverable itself. And that is actually checked, verified under control quality process. That is where we actually take the deliverable and we do a point-by-point inspection of the deliverable to make sure that it is correct. It meets the quality specifications. The next is the deliverable complete. We have scope that has been pre-identified for our project. The scope includes the product, and the product scope is very critical to us. That's what we will deliver to the customer. Whether it be a product, a service, a result, whatever it might be, we will deliver the scope of the project to the customer ultimately. We want to make sure that it is complete. For example, why is that different than control quality? Quite simply, control quality, I'm looking at the specifications. I'm looking at the tolerances. I'm doing my measuring. I'm doing my inspecting of the deliverable itself. Whatever is required, the testing of the deliverable. But under validate scope, I'm taking the deliverable in hand and I'm doing a point-by-point inspection to make sure all of the features are present. For example, let's say that I'm building an automobile. The scope of this automobile says it has to have a body, it has to have 4 wheels, it has to have 2 doors, a driver's seat, a steering wheel, and a powertrain. When I validate scope, I'm going to check each one of those items to make sure they are present. Are all of those features present? That's validate scope. Does it meet the scope requirements? In other words, is it complete? Then we have what's called continuous improvement. And I'm sure you all know what continuous improvement, and you're involved in continuous improvement exercises at your workplace. And there's no doubt in my mind but what continuous improvement or Kaizen is not a part of your everyday life. Continuous improvement, we have a process that's called managed quality. Managed quality is all about the processes. What we do under managed quality is we will implement our continuous improvement plan. We will audit the processes, and we'll talk more about this later, but continuous improvement we will implement under typically our monitoring controlling processes, and we have 10 of those different processes in which we will do continuous improvement. We want to improve our processes. When we improve our processes, obviously we're going to have some level of improvement and efficiency on our deliverable itself, but the focus of continuous improvement is on the processes themselves, and typically in managed quality is where we will issue that. That's where we will execute our continuous improvement plan. That's where we will do our process audits. And what does project quality management involve? First of all, planning the processes used to meet the quality requirements of the deliverable. Prevention. Prevention is always better than inspection. We want to prevent defects as much as possible. We want to minimize, obviously, the amount of inspection that we have to do. We might use things like Six Sigma. We might use control charts, flow charts, any number of things to help us identify potential quality areas and to implement prevention in those areas that the inspection would have to be minimal. The cost of quality has to be less than the cost of inspection and reworking. The cost of poor quality. If planning costs are increased, and this is very typically what we do, we will increase the planning cost to add additional margin to the results, reduce the number of failures, so that we can provide a much stronger quality type product. Then we audit the actual processes. We audit these processes for 3 reasons, basically. The first reason is to make sure the process is being followed. The second reason is to make sure the process is functioning as intended. And the third reason we would audit processes would be for best practices. The implementation of best practices is an ongoing concern and an ongoing part of our continuous improvement. And that would be, of course, the last bullet item there. Let's look at the quality cost. We have cost of conformance. Cost of conformance would be build a quality product, preventative cost, build a quality product. Then we have the training. We have document the processes, the equipment, and the time to do it right. Then we have our appraisal cost, assess the quality. Testing, destructive testing, and inspections. Cost of conformance would be money spent during the project to avoid failures. Then we have the cost of nonconformance. That would include internal failures and external failures. Internal failures would be failures that you found by the execution of the project itself. That would be rework of defects or scrap that's caused by the product being out of spec. External failures will be failures that would have been found by the customer, such as liabilities, warranty work, and then lost business. This is money spent during and after the project because of failures. The cost of quality certainly has a significant impact on our project, and we want to plan for that accordingly. And we want to prevent the defects, we want to prevent additional added costs, we want to prevent it overloading with inspection results and all. I used to work for a company years ago, and we were a quality building company. Our products would go out there, and they would be in the field for years and years and years. But what we did to get there was unbelievable. We had auditors that were cluster auditors that checked various machine completions at various steps in the process. Then we had a final inspection and test area that also went through and inspected and weeded out the bad stuff. It was all about weeding out the bad stuff rather than prevention. And ultimately, when you inspect, things are going to get out the door. If you don't have it built into the process, you ship it to the customer, you're going to ship defects to the customer, and that warranty and those liabilities that you have with that product being returned with added value on them, that can be significant. But you certainly want to focus on quality in that particular case. This is what we call the 10 by 5 by 49. If you've attended a previous seminar, you know I use this quite a bit. And what this is out of the 6th edition of the PMBOK Guide, which is produced by the Project Management Institute. We have 5 process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and then closing. So we have the 5 process groups. We have 10 knowledge areas coming down the left margin here, left border. And then internal to this framework, we have 49 different processes. I call this the Project Manager's Toolkit. I'm an old aircraft mechanic. I used to work on airplanes years ago, all kinds of them. The big ones, the little ones, helicopters, military fighters, all this. And I'm a licensed A&P mechanic. And I had a big toolbox. And this toolbox, I'd roll it out to an airplane, had hundreds of tools in it, and I'd pull out of that box the tools I needed to work on that particular airplane. This is a project manager's toolkit. I pull out of this toolkit what I need to be able to manage my project. I tailor this, in other words, to meet the needs of the project. We're talking quality today. We have project quality management right here. Project quality management. In project quality management, you will see that we have 3 different processes. We have plan quality management, we have managed quality, and we have control quality. We'll talk more about that as we go through. Just a brief discussion of how we typically manage projects. We start off with a sponsor. I call this person money bags. This is the person that's going to be paying for this project. Whether it's an internal or external project, it doesn't matter. They're the person that will be paying for this project. Then I have the justification for the project. That would be a business case, benefit analysis, or some means of justifying that this project is needed for the business. Once I have that, then I initiate the project. I create or develop my project charter, and I identify my stakeholders. Once I have a project charter, I have a project. That's the birth certificate of the project. I start planning for the project. When I have enough planning done that I can start executing, then I'm going to start executing that project while I continue to plan more of the project. And this cycle will go on and on and on until we're ready to close the project out. At the same time that I am executing and planning the project, I'm also going to start monitoring and controlling the project. When I monitor and control the project, I'm looking at the planned results to the actual results, and I'm making a determination. I'm going to analyze that, make a determination if I have a variance or not. If I have a variance, whatever it might be schedule, might be cost, might be in the deliverable, whatever it is. If I have a variance, then I would issue a change request and bring that variance back under control. And that will go on throughout the life of the project. I'm talking about a traditional type of a project, or a predictive, what we call a predictive type of project. Once that project is complete, the planning is done, the execution is done, then we will close the project out. When we close that project out, we will send the deliverable to the end user, transition it, and we will then take all the records for that project and file them away in our OPA, Organizational Process Assets. That's how we typically manage a traditional project. We'll talk just a little bit about agile projects in a minute. Let's go on with this. This is the first, or these are the processes of quality. I want you to see that we have different processes here. We have plan quality management, we have manage quality, and control quality. Notice that these actually have different items associated with them. For example, I have inputs. These are the things that I need to be able to do this process. Then I have tools and techniques. These are the tools and techniques that I will use to analyze the inputs to deliver the outputs. And the outputs would be, in this case, the quality management plan, the quality metrics, project management plan updates, and project document updates. This follows true for each one of these processes. Under managed quality, I have my inputs. Notice that we create the quality management plan here. That quality management plan is an input here. Quality management plan tells us how we're going to meet the quality of this project. And then the project documents and organizational process assets. But then I analyze that plan, and then I implement my process improvement plan, those types of things under tools and techniques. Then the outputs would be, of course, the quality reports, test documents. When I control quality, I have inputs. Again, my project management plan right here. Project documents again, I have those. Approved change requests. This is an important one. Under control quality, I have to have a deliverable in my physical hands or available to inspect. We do the point-by-point inspection on the deliverable. As we're doing that point-by-point inspection, we are making sure that it does or does not meet the quality requirement. Approved change request. Let's say somewhere along the way that I had a change request that affected the deliverable. That change request was approved. I have that approved change request as an input into control quality. I also have the deliverable right here as an input into control quality. I will inspect that deliverable to make sure that the change request, that approved change request, has been incorporated into that deliverable. We do our point-by-point inspection of the deliverable under control quality to make sure it is correct. It meets the quality specification requirements. On the output side, I have my quality control measurements. And notice this. Remember, managed quality is all about the process. As an input into managed quality under project documents, I have an input that is called quality control measurements. I use the measurements that I obtain here as an input into managed quality to help me make sure the equipment, the process is functioning as intended, and to make sure that it is going well. Okay. And I use that as an opportunity to improve my processes. Also, as we said, notice that I have a deliverable as an input, and I have approved change request as an input. I'm tying the loop there also to make sure all approved changes have been incorporated into the deliverable. On the output side here, I have my verified deliverable. That word verified deliverable means I meet the quality requirements for this deliverable. That's what it stands for. Let's go on. Plan quality management. We've gone through that pretty much, and I just want to show you this is a breakdown of it. It's the same breakdown as we went through right here. But you can see this is the same breakdown, but this is the plan quality management, the inputs, the tools and techniques, and the outputs that are associated with plan quality management. The important thing about plan quality management is that it gives us the quality management plan. It also gives us the metrics and also our project management plan updates, and then those updates will be done as appropriate, and then document updates also. You see, when we work a predictive type project, we do what we call progressive elaboration. We never finish planning until we close the project out. But as we learn more about our project, learn more information, new information, we update our plan and we update our documents to reflect that new information we learned as we plan quality management, as we manage quality, as we control quality, and any other process. As we're doing those processes, we learn more, we update the plan, we update the documents to reflect that new knowledge. Plan quality management. It starts early. As I said before, it starts even at the project charter level. Even before that, if you're bidding on a project for another customer, that quality cost has to be figured into the bid price, doesn't it? But certainly at the project charter level, you, the project manager, are going to be concerned about quality and get an understanding of quality. Are you going to know everything at the charter level? Absolutely not. But you're going to have a starting point and you're going to be able to build upon that quality requirements as you begin planning your project itself. That provides then provides a quality management plan, how to complete the other quality processes, how quality requirements will be achieved. It plans the quality of the deliverable and processes used to create the deliverable. It contains the process improvement plan. It provides quality checklists, check sheets or tally sheets, test and inspect documentation, and it also has a quality policy. You see, on a project, we want a quality policy. We can use that quality policy many times again, but we need a quality policy which shows and tells our commitment as project managers and as a project team to quality. And it also gives us the quality metrics. Let's look at the quality plan. The quality management plan, it's pretty straightforward. What are the deliverable requirements? Then we have in there, what is our metric or our specification? Remember, our metrics have to be measurable. A statement that I'm going to answer the phone quickly cannot be measured. But if I say I'm going to answer the phone within 3 rings 99% of the time, I can measure that. We would have our measurement, we would have our metric or our specification, whichever is appropriate, listed here. Then we have our quality roles and responsibilities. A lot of times people say, hey, I'm the project manager. I have quality management people all around that can take care of quality. My response in that case is always no. You are the project manager. You are responsible for this project. You are responsible for the quality. Your quality team may provide the services to you, but as a project manager, you are still responsible for the quality of your project. So you can specify your roles and responsibilities here with regards to maybe some of your team members, maybe your quality department, whatever it might be. What is your quality management approach? How are you going to approach quality? Are you going to be doing audits of the processes? Are you going to be carousing the deliverable at certain periods of times? What is your approach to managing quality? Then here's your process improvement plan. Process improvement, continuous improvement. How are we going to go about our process improvement over the life of this project? Then our quality control approach. How will we control quality? And then any applicable quality procedures. And then we have space for our quality policy. That is our quality management plan. The quality metrics is the metric that we use. And it's pretty straightforward. What's the ID number? What's the item? What's the metric? And what's the measurement method? Pretty straightforward, but we need to identify that, don't we? Because we need to accumulate the data on the deliverable and make sure we're complying with all aspects of the deliverable quality requirements. Here is managed quality. As we said earlier, managed quality is all about the process. Under managed quality, we will do several things such as continuous improvement, data gathering, alternatives analysis. As a project manager, for example, we're always looking for alternatives. Is there a better way to do this? Is there a better result? Is something more approachable, more usable? We always are proactive. We're always looking to do things better. That is a tenet of a project manager. You do your process analysis here, decision making, and then, of course, data representation is going to be very important and will help us to identify potential areas of quality. Here's our audits. And then we have our design for X is also a tool that we might use here. Problem solving, of course, is always a key function of a project manager and of quality. And then what are my quality improvement methods? We have quite a few tools and techniques here, and these would all be based on our key inputs that are listed here. Then our output would be primarily our quality reports, test and inspect evaluation, a change request, project management plan updates, and then project document updates, keeping everything up to speed with regards to the new information that we've learned. Managed quality is all about the processes. Implement process improvement plan here. We audit the processes for validation of how the process is performing and if the process is being followed. Change requests are issued to correct variances. The test and evaluation documents are updated. The key focus of managed quality is continuous improvement. Let's look at a quality audit form here. There we go. Typically, audits are going to be done by someone external to the project team. That'd be a good role for your quality group to perform, actually. You would want a skilled auditor, but they will go through and they'd audit the processes. Starting off, you would identify areas being audited, and you would check those off. And you would come in with a good practice from similar projects, identify areas for improvement, and then what deficiencies or defects did you find, and then comments with regards to that. The deficiency and defect, then you define your action, the responsible party, and then the due date for that. You're covering all bases here, and again, best practices is a focus, as well as is the process functioning as intended and is the process being followed. There's one other aspect here that's called control quality we talked about earlier. And control quality, we have our inputs. We talked about those. We talked about our tools. And of course our primary tool here is going to be inspection. Our primary inputs are going to be the approved change request and the deliverable itself. This process, you might have many deliverables. For every deliverable, you're going to perform this process. For every deliverable. If you have 100, you're going to do 100 times, right? You're going to take that deliverable and you're going to compare it to the approved change request. You're also going to compare it to the procurement or project management plan, specifically the quality management plan. And you're going to use your quality metrics documents, test evaluation documents. It's an important process. This is the deliverable we're talking about here. You're going to use various means of data gathering, data analysis. Inspection is going to be a primary tool. Inspection includes testing, evaluating, FMAs, whatever's required to measuring, whatever's required to verify this deliverable meets the spec requirements. You have testing and product evaluations also. And then you have your various diagrams such as root cause, Ishikawa, control charts. Our outputs would be the quality control measurements. Remember, those flow back into managed quality where we use it to improve processes. Verified deliverable, meaning the deliverable meets the quality requirements. WPI, which is the analyzed data. Change request, also important if we have a variance in the deliverable versus the plan. And then updates. Control quality, the verified deliverable is the key output. It's all about the deliverable. It's all about the product, the result. We inspect the deliverable for correctness. Does it meet the spec? Inspection is a key tool. Change requests are issued to correct variances. And the metrics are used to measure conformity. Design for X is validated if needed. Checklists are utilized. Alternatives analysis is conducted. And the project baselines are updated to reflect approved change requests. But the key focus, again, continuous improvement. There's another process that's related to the quality of the project, and that's called validate scope. We talked about control scope, inspecting the deliverable for correctness. We're going to validate scope, make sure it is complete. Look at this. We start off with our inputs. Our key input here is going to be the verified deliverable. That says we inspected it, it meets the quality. We're going to inspect it to make sure it meets all of the requirements from a scope standpoint. And in this process, we do a point-by-point inspection of the deliverable to make sure it's complete. The customer is there with us doing this same thing. They're going through it with us. And they accept the deliverable. It's accepted under validate scope. That deliverable is accepted. Again, if I have hundreds of deliverables, I will do this process hundreds of times. But the deliverable is accepted in validate scope. And you see right here we have the accepted deliverable as an output. We also have the WPI, which won't have time to talk about today. But the change request, if we find a problem with the scope of the deliverable, and then updates are also a key output. Validate scope is all about the deliverable. Does it meet the scope requirements? Is it complete? Verified deliverable is key input. Is the deliverable complete? Does it meet the scope requirements? We inspect the deliverable following the quality management plan. It's a point-by-point inspection of the deliverable to the plan. Change requests are issued to correct variance. The deliverable is accepted by customer. Key focus is continuous improvement, and accepted deliverable is the key output. We looked at the 10 by 5 by 49 earlier. When I look at that 10 by 5 by 49, and I try to decipher, well, what's done first, what's done second, and what's done, it's hard to do. Unless you've been teaching it for many years like I have, and I can go through the flow with you very easily. But let's take that and let's put it in an order. An order that you would set your methodology. Your methodology for your project management is how you're going to manage projects. What is the order for managing those projects? That's what I did with this flow chart here. This flow chart here, all of these 49 processes are included, but I put them in an order in which likely you would perform those processes. Everybody's methodology will be different. You'd vary this based on your methodology, but it gives you a starting point for your methodology. We talked about develop project charter as the starting point for a project, and it is. It is our birth certificate. We look through our flow chart, and we can see that I have attached plan quality management right at the project charter level. I said we're going to initiate that quality management plan right at the project charter level. As we're doing our project charter, we're going to start working on that plan. But what we're going to also do as we go through this project is we are going to build on that quality management plan. We're going to continue building on that plan as we go through all these planning processes, and then we will execute that plan, and it will be used then down here where we control quality. That's where we will check the deliverable for correctness. Notice manage quality is right here. That's in conjunction with direct and managed project work, where we work on the deliverable. We'll manage quality here. It's an executing process. Control quality is a monitoring and controlling process. We have to have a deliverable before we can control quality. Approved change requests would flow out of perform integrate change control into control quality. The deliverable is an output here that flows into control quality. We have a verified deliverable as an output of control quality. That verified deliverable flows into validate scope. Under validate scope, the deliverable is accepted. The accepted deliverable flows into closed project or phase, and we transition that deliverable to the customer. That just gives you an overview of how all this fits together. The 6th edition is what all this information was based on. There is a new 7th edition of the PMBOK guide, and the 7th edition and the standards, you can see that is aligned under the project management principles, and quality is equally important under the new edition of the PMBOK guide as it was under the 6th edition. Regardless of which revision of the PMBOK guide you're using or the standards, quality is right up there among the most important that we might have. Let's talk about agile quality for just a moment. I did not make any slides on those. I actually forgot to do that, but that's agile project management. We do not have a project management plan. In agile project management, we work off of what's called a backlog, an iteration or a backlog. That backlog will have the tasks that are assigned for that particular iteration. The iteration will last from 4 to 8 weeks, 1 week. Usually they're fairly short, averaging somewhere around 4 to 8 weeks. At the end of that period of time, that 4-week or that 8-week iteration, whatever it might be, I'm going to deliver something of value to the customer. At that point, when I deliver something of value to the customer, we'll do a demo perhaps to the customer or whatever it might be. The customer may have been working with us all along with that, and we might have had quality problems or quality issues that came up during that iteration as we're executing all the tasks associated with that iteration. If we did, then we might add another task. We might correct that quality deficiency within that iteration itself, or we will correct it in the next iteration. It's almost like in Agile, we're taking care of any quality issues as they occur. We don't have to have a quality plan. We don't have to have all these other quality aspects to it. Consider that Agile is normally used with like software development or something like that, knowledge-based types of projects, but I have used Agile for projects such as setting up a woodworking shop and other aspects of that. You can use Agile in many different ways, but it's almost like you're learning and improving as you go along constantly. Really, that's the basis of the quality with regards to Agile. Agile quality is just as important as a predictive type project, the quality in it as well. In a predictive project, we have documentation. In Agile projects, we do not have documentation. Let's go ahead and wrap up. We have a few minutes to wrap up in. If we look at quality preparedness, just to summarize what we've been talking about, we talked about continuous improvement, Kanzai, small changes, small improvements, continuous improvement, TQM. A lot of people relate this back to Deming, Plan, Do, Check, Act. Everyone is responsible for quality, total quality management. Just in time, JIT, no spares, no inventory. That requires a high quality standard to be able to meet a JIT environment. ISO 9000. Document what you do what you say, or do what you document. Multiple independent events, things like statistical independence. Mutually exclusive, one result or choice excludes the others. Quality levels, 3 sigma, 6 sigma. Sampling techniques, methods, attribute and variable sampling. These are all things that are involved in the quality within a project. And you would use whatever's appropriate for the particular project that you're working on.